Hey guys, Civilord here, back in with another action figure review, and today I'm very excited to be taking a look at the Marvel Legends quote-unquote mini comic wave. As I mentioned in the Adam Warlock review yesterday, still not sold on that. ROM, the Space Knight, brought to us by the fine folks over at Hasbro, and despite the fact that, yes, he does come with a stupid mini comic, and no, he doesn't come with full sets of hands, this figure fucking rocks. I think this figure is pretty frickin' sweet, despite the fact that he kind of looks like the robot from that one Beastie Boys song, or the robot from the When Worlds Collide thing from SpongeBob. I like this figure a lot. I think he's freaking cool. I don't know shit about ROM other than he was a really old toy from late 70s, early 80s. I also happen to know that, yeah, he was a Marvel thing, and still is, and surprisingly enough, has teamed up with Danny Rand and Luke Cage, aka, is it Power Man and Iron Fist. So, if you got those two, you could put this guy with him, I guess. Me, personally, probably going to go with the Cosmic Display, but before I get too far ahead of ourselves, why don't we cut right to the chase and get into the meat and taters of this review and take a look-see at all ROM has to offer in terms of accessories, starting off with, of course, the pair of hands. We got one fist and one open hand. Would have been nice to get two fists. Probably just two fists anyways. I'm never going to use like open hands like this. They don't do anything for me. Oh wow, he's got like oven mitts. I just realized that. That's kind of funny. Look at that. He doesn't exactly have fingers. Or if he does, he's only got like a couple. That's funny. Huh. He of course has the stupid mini comic, which whatever. He's got his two blasters, which do have distinct names, but if you expect me to know what those are, I'm not old enough to know what those are, you boomer. So he's got those, and then you can put this blast effect on one of them, like so. You only get one of these, by the way, which sucks. So hopefully, if they do another version of ROM, they'll ditch the mini comic, give us two fists, two open hands, and two of those. But I don't tend to use blast effects either, so I'm kind of indifferent towards them. But taking a closer look at ROM, yeah, this figure is pretty big. Like, I was surprised how big this guy was when I took him out of the package. Like, holy shit. He does have a jetpack with ports in it, so you can use like the Iron Man blast effects on that. Would have been nice if it came with some of those too, but again, I am kind of indifferent towards blast effects. But this guy is cool. I think he is really cool. I don't think he's painted silver, but the silver they used is not all marbly and shit, so it actually looks decent. Looks kind of premium, and he is very, very, very shiny. Like, there is no contest. This is the shiniest thing they've done in a hot minute. But as far as articulation goes, his head is on a disc hinge, but you can rotate it as well as rotate the neck. So he's basically on a double ball peg with a hinge in the middle. And he can get some pretty good lean back and forth and side to side just on that alone. So that's fun. Shoulders go out to the side, back down. They can fully rotate. It's got a bicep swivel, which is not gummy, I think, on either side. I mean, it's a little tighter on this side, but it doesn't... It's too big to be gummy, I guess. I don't know. But he does have a double elbow, which is a little stiff, so be mindful of that. He does have the correct hinge for holding weapons, thank you, as well as rotation. He also has a waist, or a diaphragm joint that can rotate, and actually bend forward worth shit, and back worth shit, and tilt side to side worth shit. Ain't that some shit? He also has the inverted ab crunch, which I'm not a fan of, but on this guy it actually works. Venom, I'm looking at you. I know it can bend backwards. There you go. There you go. It bends like one notch backwards. Mostly bends forward, which I think is what most people want. Hips can kick out. It's good enough for a big guy. Forward. Back, not so much because of his booty. He does have a thigh cut hidden by the boot, so that's nice. Kind of like Titania from the Secret Wars wave. He's got a double knee. hinge in the foot with a rocker. And then he's got his weird alien feet there with peg holes at the bottom. I will say it would have been nice to have some kind of boot rotation, but I'm glad they didn't break the sculpt up. Would have made him easier to pose, but it would have looked kind of ugly. So I'm kind of glad it's not there, but it would be helpful if it was. Now, as far as getting his blasters into his hand, it's fairly simple. You just slide them in. There's one. Here is two. And that's your lot, man. ROM is freaking awesome. Top Legends of the Year awesome? Maybe, especially if I have more ground rules, but, you know, he is pretty freaking sweet. I like him quite a bit. I'm glad I have him. If you got Christ Art, you gotta get ROM. You gotta get all the cool 80s toys that aren't necessarily Marvel in-house characters, but are owned by Marvel. Just have a team of them. That'd be pretty cool. I myself got Crystar, was really happy with that figure. Same thing can be said for ROM here. So, with that being said, it's time now that we move right along, take a look at some size comparisons. First up, here is the very large and in charge ROM, the Space Knight, alongside a couple other characters available in this quote-unquote mini comics wave. We have the Ultimate Iron Man and Dark Avengers Wolverine, aka Daken. Iron Man is still Tony Stark. I don't know what you expect me to say for that. And I'm going to be honest, these are probably my three favorite figures from this wave. Iron Man and ROM being completely new tooling, and Daken being reuse that just works and just so happens to meld well together. Yeah, I'm going to say that these three are probably the best figures of this wave, and the ones you should most likely check out if you're interested in these characters. I know these are acquired tastes, especially Daken and Iron Man. ROM, I think you can easily fit in a cosmic display because it is the classic version, so there is that. But yeah, however, if I had to pick who was in first place, it's still ROM because this figure fucking rocks, man. So getting these two out of the way before ROM makes them feel any more insignificant than they already are. So we can bring in our two regulars, the Mythic Legion's Brother Mandibilith and the infamous 11 Spawn, who is almost neck and neck with good old ROM there. He is a little bit taller, but I think it was Dan Who that mentioned that ROM is about the same height as the Walgreens thing, or anything Hasbro's ever done. So yeah, pretty big, chunky figure for the price point. So with that being said, it's time now that we wrap things up with some final thoughts. Overall, and if you haven't figured it out by now, good old ROM the Space Knight is by far the best figure of this quote-unquote mini comics wave. Aside from not having an extra open hand and fist hand, so he has pairs, this figure, as I mentioned before, freaking rocks. He still freaking rocks. And as far as I'm concerned, he's always gonna freaking rock. So, with that being said, hope you guys enjoyed this review. Until next time, I'll catch you guys later.